Hello. I think it's actually pronounced lookalike attacks, but I could be wrong. So let's get the show on the road. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this movie. This is not necessarily one of Tom's better movies. It's called The Minority Report. And what The Minority Report, or the plot is, and this is a spoiler alert, is it's about the ability to predict crime. It's about pre-crime. Now, what I'm not going to do today is promise you that, but we're going to get you as near as possible as we can to that around the phrase that I want you to remember, and that's the intent to compromise. Basically, we're able to get you as close as possible to mitigate lookalike attacks and also help you during a lookalike attack and then take you, if you're already compromised, to help you take down those attacks. So, one thing that we've noticed, and from our own threat intelligence group recently, is that lookalike domain use is on the increase. As I travel around the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, and some of the conversations I've had with customers, what we have seen is that some customers reported they've seen a 30 to 40% increase in lookalike attacks within a year's period. That's quite a huge amount of resource that these people are throwing at this. If we look at this particular case, this was identified by Cyjax, naming it Fanchou. And in this case, Chinese hackers used 42,000 imposter domains, and they targeted about 400 companies, including well-known brands, both in this region as well as the US. And obviously, they're putting a lot of effort into this, because when it was started in 2017. People didn't really see it get going until 2019. And had a long period of gestation. Here's another case from 2022. This is where Microsoft warned that over 10,000 organizations were the target of attacker in the middle, and basically looking to steal multi-factor authentication credentials in real time. Now, our intelligence group at Infoblox, we reorganized it about 2 years ago, and we got a new head of threat intelligence, who's ex-NSA, and what she did is totally reorganize the way our threat intel group creates DNS threat intelligence. Now, I know a lot of people will talk about threat intelligence from security vendors here at the event. I think the critical thing to notice and take account of is that everything we do from a threat intel perspective is from a DNS perspective. And that's something that you've got to take away with you. The other thing is, not all DNS solutions are created equally. What our threat intel group found was that there were over 1,600 domains contained with a combination of corporate and MFA lookalike features. I'd also point you to the QR code because our threat intel group produced a really interesting report. It's very consumable. And this is a thing that we're seeing over from the past 2 years, is that our group is now capable to provide you with a lot more current information than we ever did before. So, if we take it by the numbers, 61 billion internet-connected devices in 2023, over 200,000 new domains are created every day. Now, I actually think that that's actually quite conservative. I think it might even be as high as 400,000 on some days. So it's a rising tide of demand for domains. On the other side, 85% of newly registered domains are malicious. If you take the 92% of malware and C2s, depending on DNS, that's from 2020, and that was from Anne Neuberger from the NSA, when she called out that DNS was an area that must be protected. 76% of organizations in 2022 being targeted by ransomware. And this is the bottom stat, over 300,000 lookalike domains detected in under a year by our threat intel group. So let's just wind back the clock and take it back to basics. What was Anne Neuberger talking about? Well, by the way, it's a birthday this month. It's the birthday of DNS. DNS is 40 years old. And you could say, is it going to go through a midlife crisis? Well, actually not. It doesn't need a midlife crisis because it's reinventing itself. So, like all good things, when Paul Mockapetris created it in 1983, he was, with good intent. He was doing something beneficial. And like most technologies, when they get developed, it goes through a life cycle. So it gets developed, then the bad guys start to abuse it, and then finally we're getting into this final stage where DNS has been recognized as a security control. You can actually turn the tables on the bad guys using DNS effectively. You can make your security stack more effective with DNS. And why is this? Well, DNS is ubiquitous. It covers everything. It sees all the records, all the user device activity, and it's closest to the network assets. And this puts us in a unique place to block most threats. And you'll see another term that's quite popular these days, which is protective DNS. Now, what do we mean by protective DNS? We mean that, first of all, you're going to have a DNS server, but then you're going to have other attributes. One is going to be the DNS threat intelligence. And again, in our case, Infoblox, we handle over 70 billion DNS queries a day. You're going to have a policy engine to put that to the server so you can actually enforce policies. And also, like all good companies, if you don't say you're using AI or machine learning today, then you're nobody. So, on to lookalike domains. Pretty much everyone's a target with a lookalike domain. It could be your employees or your own constituents that you're trying to protect. It could be your customers or people that want to consume information from you coming to your websites. It could be your suppliers or your supply chain being targeted. It's a very effective tool to start off all kinds of other proliferations of threats. So, first one, homographs. These are visually similar characters. They're almost identical. They can be identical to the pixel, depending on which alphabet you're talking about, be it Cyrillic or Greek. Now, in this particular case, the KeyPass, I think that was set up, or the domain was registered on October the 15th. October the 16th of this year, it was triggered in our newly observed domain feed. By the 16th, it appeared in our suspicious domain feed. And then on, I think it was the 18th, it was finally published in Malwarebytes that it was could be a problem. And after that, by one day, we had already identified from our threat intel in our tools that we provide that it was also handing out or dishing out fake bat, which is a known type of malware. Typo squats. Now, the best example of typo squat that I've heard in the last couple of years is when you start to, it was published by the BBC, and it turned out that emails destined for the US military had, for the last 10 years, been sent to Mali because it should have gone to .mil, and instead they've been sending it to .ml. So that's another type of lookalike attack. Also, combo squats, which is basically a combination of both. In this case, the two O's on the top one, the google.co are in Cyrillic. And then finally, this is a bit of a niche type, but sound squats. And this is when it sounds like a popular domain or a legitimate domain, and somebody might actually confuse it and put it in incorrectly. So how do they distribute? Well, I personally get pretty fed up of getting texts on my phone telling me there's a parcel waiting for me at home. Please click on the link. It can be via phone calls, direct messages, emails. Thanks to COVID, QR resurged and got a second wind and a life. It can be embedded in there, and they can be just normal domains on the World Wide Web. But from our perspective at Infoblox, we can do things to detect these. So first of all, I'm going to focus just on the most poignant ones, which are lookalike domains. We have a tool, and through our dossier tool, you're able to actually put your own domains into the tool, and we will actually watch. So you can custom watch for lookalike domains. The other thing that we can pick up on are suspicious domains. And this is a relatively new feed and comes out of our reorganization of threat intel. We've published over 20 new algorithms within a year. And suspicious domains is one of the ones that is most, I would say, efficacious at the moment for lookalike domains. So those 2 points are very powerful tools because it gets you closer to intent. So how do we work? We let the machine decide something doesn't look right. We're using our multiple algorithm approach to this problem. We allow our customers to watch their own domains and capture that information. We also offer RPZ solutions for early detection and response, and we offer a UI to summarize and alert customers of lookalikes. So you can see here, there are various attacks. It could be popular phishing on your local users. We can mitigate that. You can choose your policies on how you deal with that. It could be spear phishing. They could be trying to target employees by, maybe it's a benefits website that's incorporating some of your company name and a benefits listing, like we've listed here, infobloxbenefits.com. But more importantly, it's the brand reputation. If your customers and your consumers are affected, regaining your reputation, if they've been defrauded or damaged through that, can take a very, very long time. And that's the bit where brand reputation starts to come in. And we have something else that can deal with that, but I'll get to that in a minute. So you can see here, this is the portal. This is a watch domain. We've put in Gmail. But we're interested in Gmail login reset.com, listed as a phishing attack. With our tool, what you're able to do is drill in even further and capture all kinds of information, including the timeline from when it's been set up, who registered it, where's its register, the registrar's name, and you can keep getting more and more information about these particular threats. You can look up threats. You can go threat hunting. So you can turn some of your teams into threat hunters in the DNS. But that's how you deal with it proactively at the beginning. Remember what I said about the intent to compromise? That's the first bit. The second bit is, what do you do if you've already got pesky domains which are targeting you, and you've already identified them? Now, you can identify them using Infoblox's tools, which is great, but we also offer domain mitigation services. So, how does it work? What we do is we do validation. So you send in your email with the domains, as much content as you can about the particular domain that you want taken down. We then go through a process of mitigation. Now, Infoblox has been doing this for many, many, many years, well before 2014. So we've built up a very, very strong reputation with the people that you need to speak to, from the registrars through to the CERT, through to the SPs. We've probably got a Rolodex of over 15,000 different organizations that we've dealt with doing domain mitigation. And there's no safe harbor. So whilst this presents a nice clean arrow moving across, when we think things are actually in a short time frame, what we will do is actually multiple prong and approach all of those types of organization. So from trigger event, within 15 minutes in normal working hours, you will be in contact with us and we will be back in contact with you. Within 24 hours in the US, we will normally have taken down a domain. For international clients, we say 72 hours, because quite often some of the organizations we have to deal with can be hard to reach. But the nice thing about us is once we've actually removed a bad domain, we will continue to monitor it for 30 days. So if somebody tries to reactivate it, we will take it down for free. If we don't meet our SLAs, we will take them down for free. And the thing to notice here, as we're pushed for time, is mitigation is guaranteed. We will guarantee. We will give you back your credits if we haven't met the service level, but we will still pursue that bad domain and those people to take it down. We're also one of the few organizations that's actually recommended by CISA for US federal government takedowns. There's a couple of other companies, but there's only 3 in total that are actually put forward and published on the US CISA website, and we're one of them. It can take you 2 weeks to do it yourself, but we managed to do it in 90 minutes. And in fact, I've had a customer in this region where we did a test case, and we also were able to take that one down within 90 minutes. So it's a very quick service. But as we come to the close, I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm sorry I couldn't bring Tom Cruise here in person, but hopefully you've learned a little bit more about lookalike domains. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter.